Well, welcome to Conversations with Lynn. I'm so excited because today, not only do I have a recording artist, I have someone with an amazing testimony. And if you are tuning in right now and you know someone who has gone through any type of mental health issues, depression, whether it was just a little or a lot, listen, her testimony is incredible. So you want to right now call your friends, text your friends, like, subscribe, and share because it's going to be amazing. But help me welcome Grace Graber.
Hi.
Hello. I have been waiting to meet you for some time, so I'm glad that you got to come on my show.
You're so kind. Thank you so much for asking me to come on here. It's nice to meet you officially, like on screen.
Yeah. So John Ondo, who is our video, radio,
Everything.
everything like guru, he's the one that introduced us to I want to say your ministry. I don't even want
Hmm.
to think about it as your career, your ministry. And
Hmm.
I had heard some of your songs, but then when I heard the testimony, I was just like, wow, people need to hear this.
Oh,
People need
thank
to
you.
know.
That's incredible. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So just go ahead, just start out by just sharing a little bit about you and how you ended up with this platform.
Yeah. So, hi anyone who doesn't know me. My name is Grace Graber. I write songs because a song saved my life as a teenager. I grew up a pastor's kid in California, and I was bullied for my faith. I was the only kid in my school who was the pastor's kid, and I love Jesus, and that was the one thing that was different about me. So I was physically and verbally assaulted as a teenager, and it got so bad that my parents had to take me out of the school district, put me in another one. Well, they heard about me on MySpace, so it was unsafe for me to go to any like school district really. Um, and then I became suicidal because I went from all of that into isolation. Like my parents didn't know what to do. They did everything that they could, so they put me homeschooling, and that turned into suicidal thoughts, very intrusive thoughts. And right before I was planning on taking my life, a song popped into my head, told me I wasn't alone. And I didn't really think of that as like a testimony, you know? I saw it as like, oh, music's my thing. I started going to concerts and healing from my PTSD and just admiring my heroes. I thought, like, if these people are so kind to me and they don't know me, and the people who do know me want to hurt me, why? Like, there has to be something there. There has to
Wow.
be something to these people who are so kind to me. And it was Jesus. And they weren't, what's funny is I talk to a lot of them now, a lot of them are in my life, and they weren't intentionally trying to save lives or do something like that. They
Wow.
were just doing the next thing they wanted to do. And
Wow.
I think now it's like, wow, like if I head into my career with that intention, I wonder what God can do with it, because they weren't like being intentional with that at all. But yeah, so music wasn't really like a thing until a few years ago. I wrote a jingle for the spa that I work for. I had always wanted to pursue music, but I never uh I tried, and I was told I'd never make it, and then I was in a car accident, and just all the odds were against me as far as like pursuing that as a career. But it wasn't until I wrote a jingle for the spa that I work for. I'm an esthetician full time, and the company put on a songwriting contest. I won it. They sent me to Nashville for the first time. I was in Nashville. I met a producer and told him how music saved my life, and it was like, wow, this is really marketable. This is really something that can be used to impact people. And have you ever thought about pursuing a music career? And I mean, I had, but I didn't
I
think
mean,
it
every
was like,
child has, right? Be an
yes, I
actor
didn't
or
think
a
it was
singer.
actually,
Yeah.
I didn't really think it was actually in the cards for me. And so I started during COVID. And COVID happened to happen around that time, and the odds were in my favor. Streaming became more popular, social media. In my brain, I was just trying to share my music free, right? In a
Right.
free way. But I guess I was doing the right marketing things on social media, and it turned into me sharing my story and then that doing well. And that's how I've connected with a lot of people on my
Wow.
team, is just kind of broadcasting my story more and more. Has just people love it. I mean, it's really cool because it's really like I'm finding music has done that for more people than we
Mhm.
really realize. And so while it's like a ministry, it is like also a way I'm able to connect with people and help people feel a little less crazy. And I'm sponsored by BetterHelp now, and I'm able to partner with American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, a lot of different
Wow.
organizations that help provide resources
Yeah.
for people who might not know how to cope and do all that. So it's been really cool. It was honestly an accident, and then it turned into a career about um 3 years ago.
Well, I
And then
just
we
love
moved to
that.
Nashville, and
I
yeah.
just love that because that's just, I feel like that's just how God works, right? It's
It's
not
cool
what
because
we,
it
it's not what
y-
we think it's going to be. It's what he ends up making it become.
no, I think tell God your plans, he'll laugh.
Right.
So it's kind of like, I don't know. It was when I was a teenager, I got to sing with my favorite band when I was 16. And I remember getting off a stage with Hawk Nelson and um just suddenly being like, if God can do this, he can do anything. And it's truly true. Like yeah, I don't know. It totally 160'd my life and
Wow.
360'd my life. And 160'd
Yeah.
all the way back
Yeah.
around. But
Yeah.
yeah.
What I love about all of this and what you're saying is, first of all, being able to recognize the providence of God. Like, God will move pieces around for his
Can you
glory.
educate me on what providence means?
Oh, so like providence. So like we may be planning something, but like God's doing something even
Okay.
without us even knowing he's working and putting things
That's such a
together
cool
and
word.
knitting things together, even though we don't know that he's doing it. He's got
Mhm.
a plan and he's working it out. The second
Yeah.
thing that I love about your story is that the people that were speaking into your life and shining the light and the glory of the Lord for you to get your healing weren't even trying to do anything special. They were just
No.
being them.
They were
And
band guys trying to be rock stars. They were
yeah,
literally like huddled in a van, like they weren't living a lifestyle like you traditionally would think a like Christian band would
yeah,
be living, and they were still making a huge impact. Yeah.
yeah. They were loving on you and
Hmm.
sharing that you're worth it, that you're valued, and you're getting this message, even though they weren't planning it.
Hmm.
Um, and the other thing, I just want to commemorate you because I think the church has made it very difficult for people to share their brokenness
Hmm.
because you kind of feel like, well, maybe I'm not saved enough if I feel this way, or I'm not, just, and we end up hiding our pain and our struggles because people are critical and
Yeah.
judgmental. And I just love the fact that you're stepping out there and saying, this is where I was and what I went through.
Yeah.
I I got healing and restoration. And one of my favorite lines, you're not wasting your pain. Like you went through that,
Hmm.
but instead of letting that be this crutch that
Hmm.
keeps you like hobbling, you're allowing
Yeah.
it to be your wing so that you can fly and help other people.
I
So
think that's
love it.
what, yeah, I think that's what makes it a ministry versus a career, right? Like a career, you're building something off of strength, you're building something off of what you can gain, but like ministry is like building off of weakness, like building off of God's strength, because it is my weakness that makes God strong. And I think what's so cool is if you think about it, I still am diagnosed with PTSD. I still have depression. I still take antidepressants, anxiety medication. I still have days where I have overwhelmed. I was diagnosed with ADHD last year because I couldn't understand why my brain would function one way one day and another. And I don't think we as Christians are talking about like that enough. Like we're living daily with, as much as we want to, like, I mean, heaven isn't here yet as much as I want it to be. And so why are we trying to live like heaven's here already? I don't know. Like,
Well, there isn't like a balance between that because, the Bible does
yeah.
say that we're co-seated. We're here on earth, but our residence is heaven. And we do have this ability through Holy Spirit to walk in this divine and supernatural and holy
Yeah.
life, that's filled with healing and restoration. But we have to recognize to get to that healing and restoration, we have to own our stuff.
Mm-hmm. Oh
We have to
yeah.
deal with our stuff. And when we're constantly hiding our stuff, that healing and restoration and wholeness that we have the right to live in as
Mm-hmm.
followers of Jesus, as co-heirs, children of God, we don't, because
Yeah.
there's too much stuff clogging our emotions, clogging our,
Yeah.
and we need healing and restoration from that. And I,
Yeah.
I like the
Well,
fact
and
that you mentioned
healing.
your medication, because I think also
Yeah.
Christians tend to think, well, if I take a medication, I don't have enough faith. And that's
Mm-hmm.
not true, you
That's
know?
actually a lot of faith. That's faith in what God can do through modern medicine, Like, I
Yeah.
think about, like, I'm currently working on a project called The Breakthrough, and like what the Lord has been teaching me about breakthrough is acceptance.
Mm,
Acceptance that breakthrough, we might be overcomplicating breakthrough a little bit. Breakthrough might look like finally, accepting who we are and finding healing and acceptance in that. And that's personally what he's been teaching me. And a lot of that comes down to self-worth, self-love. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. And we're taught from a very early age this concept, this myth that everything is going to be perfect. I mean, we as girls, we grow up with the Disney princesses, right?
Yeah.
And some magical person's going to come and rescue us from
Yeah.
all of the woes of our life. And actually, the Bible never said that we wouldn't go through trials.
Mm-hmm.
Never said that we
No.
wouldn't go through heartache and
Yeah.
hurt. He said, I will be there with you when you go
Yeah.
through it. And
Yeah.
I think that's a lesson that we need to talk more about with people. It's okay that you're
Mm-hmm.
hurting, but
Yeah.
the Lord is with you. I will be with you, supporting each other rather than um, tearing each other down or
Yeah.
criticizing or being judgmental.
Well, too often we look at the story of what Paul did and what he said, and we don't really look at the fact that he said himself that he had a thorn in his flesh.
Yeah.
Like he said it himself like a couple times. Like, and we too often will quote those things like, "Hey, why do you have a thorn in your flesh?" when the guy who actually said it, So
Yeah, right. Yeah.
it's
So
a
what would
reality
you
check.
say? That is a reality check. So what would you say to the young listener? Now, I'm old. I admit it.
Yeah.
I'm old. So I'm not saying I have all these like real young, people, but I think the one thing about depression and anxiety and negative thought patterns, it crosses every generation.
Hmm.
It crosses every skin color, every nationality. There is no place in the world has someone not felt the sting of loneliness and isolation, whether it was a long time or for a short time. What do you say to that person that's feeling that right now? Like, I'm all alone, depressed, no
Yeah.
hope. What do you say to that person?
Well, you just said it, like everyone's experienced it. You're not alone. Like everyone, and I think we quote that too much, like, you're not alone, just brush it off. Like, no, I don't think we're encouraged enough to feel that and understand that that is a human emotion that
Yeah.
that means something's there. That means we need something. What do you need? Is it truly like you need to know that you're not alone, or do you need, like, is there something going on in your brain? Like, what I think I think like that's the one thing I needed to know, was like that I was valid in feeling the things that I was feeling, that the things that I had thought, like those intrusive thoughts, like I needed to know those were normal. And it was like through Hawk Nelson and Reliant K and all of those songs that they would briefly mention things that I had thought in passing. Um, And it's like, whoa, that person, I think it all comes down to being wanting to be understood, not just
Mhm.
wanting to like feel not alone, but how, am I understood in the way that I'm feeling? Like, does this make sense? And I think at the end of the day, yeah, it makes total sense. Like, we all go through it. Like you just said, it passes generation to generation. And so kind of having someone go, wow, they understand me. So then they're open to finding healing. Then they're open to finding the tips and tricks on, I think anyone who's listening, I just want them to feel love and validated. And like, if God can use me who still struggles,
Mhm.
like he can truly use anyone. And this kind of fell into my lap. And that's all I really have. Like, there's always someone better out there to do what I'm doing, truly. But all I have is like the fact that God saved my life through music. And that someone who might be listening they might only have that one thing. And that's enough. And I don't think I think we talk too much about like elaborate like stories and like, like
Yeah.
it kind of makes the underdog who doesn't really have an elaborate story or feels like less said, like not as important. And
Mhm.
so if you feel like the underdog, if you feel like no one understands you, like that's the lie.
Mhm.
Um, and I would say that like, yeah, try to find someone who understands you. I think like this whole ministry is not just me trying to like, change something for someone else, but more of just being like that friend and that person that people can feel understood by
Yeah.
and not feel crazy around. Yeah.
And I think that's a really important thing to note right there, that a lot of times people just need to know that you're willing to listen.
Hmm.
And just being able to talk out what you're feeling and
Yeah.
what's going on could be the thing that changes it for that person. Not
Yeah.
that you had all the best answers, you had the
Hmm.
most information. It's just you were willing to sit there and listen and let them cry on your shoulder and love
Yeah.
on them when they're in that dark space.
And what's kind of hard about that in the church is like I feel like the church tries to fix it every time. We don't normalize just sitting there praying and listening and not trying to find a solution.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but like I mean God will bring the healing in due time, but sometimes people get hurt by church because someone's just constantly offering a solution and no one's listening to me.
Mm.
No one is trying to connect with me first, because if you don't have that connection there first, of course, like someone's going to be so hurt when you offer a solution.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh. And I think that's something where we're kind of having, from a trauma informed perspective, having those listening people, having that prayer team to sit there, pray and listen, and not yet give counsel just yet, just sit with them, lament with them, is just as important as pursuing healing and pursuing God changing people's lives. Probably even more important because we're called to like live together, to cry together, to laugh together. And I think too many times people are hurt by the church because the church is trying to change something
Yeah.
in them, and it's just way too quick.
Yeah.
It's too traumatic.
Okay, that is I think that is the message that we need to end on right there.
Okay.
So often, we as Christians want to step in with an answer, a solution, and we've never built relationship. And I
Hmm.
think that's the thing that people need first. Relationship with someone that they know, that I'm not just a number in their congregation. I'm
Hmm.
not just a statistic on their bottom line, but I'm someone that they love and they care for. And when they feel that, then you're able to share, I went through that before. And I think that's
Hmm.
the other thing, is sharing your story, no matter how big or how small, that provides hope. I
Hmm.
remember I never thought of myself as and I still don't, like marriage ministry or marriage counseling and whatnot is not like my sweet spot.
Hmm.
But I never got, and I never really pursued it. I still don't greatly, but I noticed after I started getting very honest and open about my struggles in marriage, all of a sudden women were calling me about how do I handle? What do I do?
Mm-hmm.
Can you pray with me? Can you? And I am not a licensed professional marriage counselor. That's not my bend. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yet them knowing that I've been where they are in some respect and
Mm-hmm.
I care about them, number
Mm-hmm.
two, opens that conversation for then me able to mentor or coach or
Mm-hmm.
give words of advice or um, biblical information based on the topic. And so that's so important, that relationship before responsibility. If you don't have relationship, you don't have responsibility.
No. And I think people just assume like stepping into church, you're going to automatically have that relationship. You're going there to get counsel, or the pastor is always right, or we're all real people. And every church that I've personally been hurt by, I've had to, in some aspect, prove myself as like able to be a part of the community. And the church that I have now has met me where I'm at and built a relationship before trying to have me like lead
Yeah.
worship. And
Yeah.
like every church I was before, it was like I had to prove to them that I could be on the worship team.
Mhm.
And then I just like was so burnt out and hurt. And then finally I connected with my now mentor, and I told him straight up before, I was like, no, I'm not, you can find a better singer in Nashville. Like why ask me, you know? And it was because he built such a strong relationship with me that he was like, this is why, like he was able to go, no, I'm proving like you've already proved yourself enough by the relationship that we have. And I think, yeah, I think that's the one thing we're going to notice with this next generation. This next generation wants nothing to do with mom and dad's church. They
Mhm.
want nothing to do with what might, I don't know, bring up some really complicated emotions, because they might not feel like they're allowed to have those complicated emotions. What's going to change is
Mhm.
when they see that mom and dad have those complicated emotions too. The pastor has those complicated emotions too. Oh my gosh, I feel understood. Like what? Like when my youth pastors growing up told me that they had had suicidal thoughts before, that is when I felt the most seen and heard.
Yeah.
And no one wants to talk about that. And
Yeah.
so I'm hoping I can kind of just change the structure like in Christian music. I don't know if you think about it, but I think about it all the time. I don't know what like some of these artists struggle with, or like what they're, like I know what they want to say through their music, but like man, like I kind of want to know what makes them tick just to like relate to it.
Yeah, this generation wants to be on the inside track, right?
They
That's
want,
right. They want to see
yeah.
the real person, the real stuff
Yes.
that's happening. Well,
Yeah.
we're closing out our time. So what would be that, like, just like, what's that catchphrase that if no one remembers anything else that you said today, because, we're simple-minded, right?
Yeah.
What's that one, like, this is what I like to end every conversation with. This is that tidbit
Uh,
that I want you to take home, marinate on,
yeah.
digest, because it's going to change your life.
Oh, you're not alone. Like I mean that was the line that saved my life. It's like the most cliche, most overused line. I have it on all of my merch. But it's true. Like you're not alone means you're understood. You're not alone means I've been there before. You're not alone means those intrusive thoughts aren't wrong. Like you're not alone means you're not crazy. Like you're not alone covers a multitude of statements of like, hey, by the way, I have been there too. And so I think if people can just remind themselves that that's what saved my life, when I felt understood and felt I wasn't alone. Um yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again for being on the show and sharing your heart and your testimony and what you've gone through, being so real. My catchphrase is being hot, honest, open, and transparent. Because if we can be honest, open, and
Well, girl.
transparent, you know, we can get some stuff done. So listen, if you're watching this, on April the 6th, right? April the 6th,
Mm-hmm.
you are going to be, Grace Graber is going to be in Oasis City Church doing not only a dynamic concert, but sharing her heart, letting our young people, our young adults know that they are not alone. So if you're watching this, share it, like it, subscribe, let people know April the 6th, Oasis City Church. Um, there'll be more details to come. So keep watching and come out, meet her in person.
It'll
And
be a party. I'm
it'll be
ready
a
to
party.
party.
All right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So thank you for joining in. And until the next time, keep smiling. God bless.